Good morning, everyone. I would like to recognize that the area we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to Indigenous peoples for generations. There are 31 communities with reserve lands in the FERD's jurisdiction and as many as 69 groups with interests in the area. We honor our commitment to collaboration, inclusion, and reconciliation in our work here today and call to order the October 9th Regional and Corporate Services Committee meeting. First item, please.
Looking for approval of the agenda, and late items.
Moved by Director Seaman, seconded by Director Smith. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
4.1 is the 2025 Regional Commercial Real Estate Market Overview, and we have a staff presentation.
All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Riley Smith. I'm a planner here at the FERD in the Strategic Planning and Initiatives Department, and I'm here to present on our findings from the 2025 Regional Commercial Real Estate Market Overview. So this report is part of our monitoring of the regional growth strategy, and it is meant to highlight rising price pressures on industrial and employment lands. It builds on our previous economic-related initiatives and informs ongoing work on the regional industrial lands inventory by contributing to a deeper understanding of the FERD's economic landscape. So here's a quick outline of what I'll cover today. I'll start with why commercial development matters and where our data is coming from. Then we'll look at what's happening in the industrial market, how prices are trending across different building and land types, and then I'll wrap up with some concluding observations. So for this overview, commercial real estate refers specifically to industrial, office, and retail buildings, as well as ICI land, which in our analysis covers industrial, commercial, and agricultural properties. So the commercial development sector plays a major role in the Canadian economy. Nationally, the construction and ongoing operations of commercial buildings supported roughly 1 million jobs and generated over $342 billion in economic activity in 2024. So here in the Fraser Valley, access to industrial, office, and retail space is what allows businesses to operate, grow, and stay within the region. The availability of these spaces and land for development is essential for job creation, attracting investment, and supporting business growth, all of which contribute to a strong and resilient regional economy. So our analysis draws on two main sources. First, we're using quarterly market reports from firms like Colliers, CBRE, Cushman, and Wakefield, which provide regional and national insights into the industrial market. Second, we are utilizing detailed transaction data from the Altus Group, which allows us to track long-term price trends across different types of land and buildings. So our focus in this report is specifically on Abbotsford, Chilliwack, and Mission, since that's where detailed data is available. But we'll also compare these findings to municipalities in Metro Vancouver and other Canadian markets. So let's just start with a look at the industrial vacancy rate, which describes the share of space available for lease. Vacancy rates are a key indicator of the industrial market. They show how tight or balanced it is, and it can help us understand where the market has been and where it's trending. So in most markets, a balanced vacancy rate is typically around 3 to 5%. Between 2019 and 2022, vacancy rates in the Lower Mainland fell sharply from about 1.5% to just 0.1%, an unprecedented low driven by strong demand for industrial and logistics space. Since 2022, this rate has risen, likely due to higher interest rates, elevated construction costs, and uncertainty around tariffs and global trade, which, according to Colliers, has slowed decision-making and investment activity as businesses remain cautious. So on the chart, you can see that the Fraser Valley has roughly followed the broader Lower Mainland industrial market trend shown with the blue line, illustrating a general alignment. However, there is some deviation, with the Fraser Valley experiencing a spike in early 2024 which may be linked to new developments completing construction during that period, though we aren't certain, as Colliers does not specifically address the Fraser Valley. So despite these recent economic headwinds, market reports continue to show strong underlying demand across the region, particularly for large, modern, and well-located industrial space. The Lower Mainland region remains one of the most expensive and supply-constrained markets in North America, with average asking rents just above $20 per square foot in 2025. Abbotsford and Chilliwack, both a part of the broader Lower Mainland market, are comparable to or above the next highest Canadian market, which is Toronto at about $17 per square foot. Additionally, even as vacancy has risen slightly in recent years, our region's rates are still below comparable U.S. West Coast markets like Seattle and Portland, largely due to limited land supply and constraints on development. So now shifting into the industrial building space, this chart shows average prices from 2005 to 2024 using transaction data from the Altus Group. So in the Fraser Valley, prices increased from $75 per square foot in 2005 to $474 in 2024, shown by the green line. Growth was fairly modest until about 2017, when prices began to climb sharply. These trends closely mirror what we are seeing in Metro Vancouver, shown with the blue line. Compared to other commercial building types such as office or retail, the price difference between the two regions is smaller for industrial buildings, currently at about $56 per square foot. So this chart breaks down industrial prices by municipality over 4 benchmark years, 2005, 2015, 2019, and 2024. So each bar shows the average price per year, with darker bars representing more recent years. So looking on the left side of the chart, you can see the Fraser Valley municipalities of Mission, Abbotsford, and Chilliwack were all around $200 per square foot in 2019. That is shown by the third bar. Since then, prices have surged, with Chilliwack seeing the largest increase, nearly tripling in price. On the right, some of the Metro Vancouver municipalities, such as Burnaby and the City of Vancouver, saw earlier price increases beginning around 2015. This reflects how price pressures emerged in these core markets first, and then have generally spread eastward over time. So, office activity in the Fraser Valley is much more limited compared to other sectors, with about 73% of transactions occurring in Abbotsford. There are also greater differences in office prices between municipalities, which reflect factors like demand, location, building class, and overall market maturity. For example, in 2024, office space in Abbotsford are averaged around $575 per square foot, compared to roughly $1,135 in Vancouver, where premium office towers in the downtown core drive prices significantly higher. So retail buildings were the most frequently transacted commercial asset in the Fraser Valley, with activity more evenly distributed across municipalities than other sectors. Retail also shows the greatest average price difference compared to Metro Vancouver, with Fraser Valley prices about 389 square foot lower in 2024. As shown in the chart, there is also a clear east-west price gradient, with Fraser Valley municipalities more aligned in pricing with cities like Maple Ridge and Langley, while core Metro Vancouver municipalities such as the City of Vancouver sit much higher due to their denser urban retail markets. So here we are looking at ICI land, which in our analysis covers agriculture, industrial, and commercial properties. In the Fraser Valley, the majority of these transactions, about 85%, involve agriculture. However, industrial and commercial land sales still make up an important share of activity. In terms of pricing, industrial land has seen the strongest increase, climbing from about $169,000 per acre in 2005 to $3.38 million in 2024, with an average annual increase of around 16%. Since 2021, industrial land has also grown more expensive than commercial land, reversing a long-standing trend. So to bring this all together, what we are seeing is rising prices across all commercial asset types, with the steepest increases in industrial land and buildings. While the Fraser Valley remains more affordable than Metro Vancouver, those prices have moved eastward, reflecting how closely integrated these two regions are. These trends are shaped by the limited land availability across the Lower Mainland, which continues to put upward pressure on prices. Businesses require space to operate and grow, so the availability and the affordability of commercial real estate is a key part in maintaining regional economic growth and resiliency. This analysis helps us to monitor these changes over time and provides a regional perspective that contributes to a deeper understanding of the FUD's evolving economic landscape. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Fascinating information and presentation there. Really appreciated that. I think all this information is going to help us understand our needs and plan our communities better. Are there any questions or comments? Director Siemens?
Great. Thank you very much. It's a great report, and it's nice to have the data behind it. I just wondered, maybe you're not the person to answer the question, but I'll ask it. So how are we going to be sharing this with the province? I know that Jedi Ministry is looking at from a provincial perspective. And so perhaps that's part of our advocacy committee, but I thought maybe you could just articulate how we're set up to do that.
Through the chair. We have been in discussions with JEDI over the last year or so, and talking to them about the industrial land inventory, and have shared some previous work that we've done. So we'll continue to share this information with them just to make sure that we're still in the loop with their discussions. I think the ministry name has changed recently, but yeah, we're trying to touch back with them to see where their initiatives are moving. Right now, it's a little bit of a challenge with the labor dispute in terms of getting contact with people, but that's certainly on top of mind.
Yeah, so I'm, excuse me, I'm going to go to Director Horn for a minute, but that question kind of sparked a question in me. Have we ever shared this kind of information with our chambers of commerce, or could that be something we could do? I think they might find this interesting.
Yeah, we can certainly share this information with chambers of commerce and economic development departments and municipal departments as well.
Great, thank you. Director Horn?
Well, it seems like the first few questions are aligned with the one I have, and I think this is a worthwhile presentation to actually roadshow out to those three municipalities if there's willingness from the board and staff. I agree with Director Siemens and with Director Chair Ross that we really should be sharing this liberally. As others will know from UBCM, there is a movement afoot to advocate for commercial rents in particular. And I think this tells a bit of the story. So I support that fully. So that's my first question. Is this something that's going to or can be taken to each of those municipalities as a presentation at a regular council meeting?
Through the chair, certainly, if that's a request from the municipalities, we can do that.
Okay, well, consider this a request for admission. And then the second question is, the data shows obviously a really sharp spike, particularly 2019 to 2025. So in that 6 years, it's essentially 250% in most markets, in most areas, most of the classes. And I think that is difficult to imagine being sustainable. But were you looking strictly at purchases, or does that include leasing and renting? Do you have that data broken out that way?
So it's primarily sales that we're tracking rather than the leasing. There's also, especially in the smaller markets, it is a challenge when you have only a few transactions. So the data can sometimes get skewed as well. So you could have a very large transaction in one municipality in just one, and that will skew the data. So we're very aware of looking at the data and just understanding that there may be, you can't just assume that everything has increased. You have to look at the underlying number of transactions that have occurred, not just the price of those transactions.
Well, perhaps what I'll do is just sort of leave it with you folks for when this comes back to the larger board. But I'm curious about that part of things, and I'm also curious about where Altus has collected its data. Is it at the point where somebody has purchased an entire complex, or is it, for example, a unit within a strata that gets incorporated into that index? We've had quite a lot of conversation in Mission about whether or not strata commercial properties are going to appreciate by the same value as fee simple property. So that's very meaningful piece of information for me, and I'll probably ask it when this is presented to the board, or if you come out to Mission at that meeting. But just will give you a heads up that that's something I'm curious about. Thank you very much. Excellent report.
Thank you. Director Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for a very nice report. My understanding always was that the further you got from Vancouver, the greater the differential in pricing on real estate. And your bar charts show that's very much the case for office and retail. But the industrial properties, it's almost a flat line between Chilliwack and Surrey. And I was wondering whether you have any thoughts on why that might be.
Yeah, through the chair to Director Dickey. I think that is probably because of a number of factors. I think office and retail, just based on where they're more located in sort of the higher value urban cores. So what you see is actually, when you look at the transaction numbers, you'll see that the city of Vancouver actually has the most like office and retail transactions. And then when you're looking at industrial, it's actually Surrey, which has more transactions. So it's just a factor of, I think, location, that industrial is generally located away from sort of the higher density urban cores. And therefore it's like the value of it will be a little bit lower. So when you're looking at the Metro Vancouver average, it's actually brought down a little bit because a lot of these industrial transactions are located, away from Vancouver, more in Surrey, Richmond, and that sort of thing. So I think just the overall price of those transactions is going to be a little bit lower on average and more in line with the Fraser Valley.
If I could, some of these industrial values are sky high, and I've heard people say that BC is pricing itself out of the market, and people are just going to go take whatever off they need at the port and go to Calgary or whatever. You look at the number of transactions in the Fraser Valley in the industrial sector, and they're minimal.
Mm-hmm.
It's I wonder if the region should be presenting an argument to the provincial government that this is something that needs to be made a priority and something really done about, because that's the future growth of employment in our region. Thank you for your nice responses.
Thank you. Anyone else? Director Siemens?
Thank you. And just to build on Director Dickey's point, I think there really is an opportunity for us to really amplify our voice on this issue, because all of the housing targets that the government imposes, the best way to actually be able to afford those is to have a job. And the challenge that we're having right now, we're seeing a little bit of a reprieve in the vacancy, I think, because of all the chaos around the tariffs and the uncertainty that's created. But what we're also seeing is that the Port of Vancouver is expanding, and to Director Dickey's point, if all of that is going to be transported east of us, the transportation costs, then all of the other challenges that go with that, a lot of that still has to come back to be distributed here where the population is. So to have that understanding and perspective for the provincial government, it's a way for us to really articulate how all of this is tied together. And so I really appreciate this work because I do think that this is it's a crisis as that's tied to the housing issues and to all of the other issues that we're facing socially. And if we don't have a strong economy, we're going to be in all sorts of challenges with our budgets and everything else. So I really appreciate this work because I think this is a crisis that just hasn't hit the radar of the media or of the provincial government, but it's there. And if we don't get out in front of it, it's only going to get worse. So thank you so much.
Doesn't look like there's anyone else. So thank you very much for your presentation again. Next item.
Item 5.1 is the draft Regional and Corporate Services Committee meeting minutes of September 4th, 2025.
We have a mover. Director Siemens, Director Clute, all in favor. Motion's carried. Next item.
6.1 is the FVRD Board and Committee meeting schedule for 2026.
We have a mover. Director Siemens, Director Castle. Seeing no questions, all in favor. Motion's carried. Next item.
7.1.1 is the 2024 corporate greenhouse gas emission reporting. It's an information item, but happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions, comments? No, we're good. Thank you. It's another well done report. There's one piece that I picked out of that, if I'm recalling the numbers right. We had a 28% increase in population, but only a 15% increase in emissions. Is that right? So, I mean, we've got an increase, but relative to the population, I'll take it as a win. All right, seeing no one else, we will move to the next item.
Moving down to item 10, which is reports by directors.
Anyone? No. Director Siemens.
Just sort of ties in with our report that staff presented. So we did, we worked with our Chamber of Commerce and did an industrial or manufacturing tour. And it was really interesting because we have some pretty significant manufacturing in our region. And these are the 4 sites that we went sell internationally. And they, well, the one does more regional, but the other 3 manufacturers are selling into the States and also internationally. And they're all family owned, either 2nd or 3rd generation. So always ask the question, like, why do you choose here for your expansions? Because property is so expensive. They said that the cost to relocate is quite high, but the skilled labor that's here and the teams that they've built are very significant. And to upset that or to move that would be quite challenging. But I so there's a lot of positives going on as well. And I think we need to mirror or to marry those 2 issues together so that when we do advocate to senior levels of government, we can also bring some of these industry leaders in the region and articulate what's important to them. So, yeah, so that was good. Chilliwack and Mission Chambers of Commerce had representation there too. So it was very good. So, but anytime that we can amplify the voice of what's driving our economy, it's really important. So,
yeah,
thank you.
One of those is the people, which is good to hear. No, Director Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to build on Director Siemens' comments, I think there's a really great argument that the North American continent is being tipped to the west, and the future is in Asia, and there's going to be tremendous growth pressures on the West Coast, and we should be preparing ourselves for that. Maybe this body should take a leadership role in that. I'm just a lowly electoral area director, but I look at these municipalities and think there's a lot of growth coming our way.
Thank you. Seeing no one else, we'll move to the next item.
So now we're at public question period for items relevant to the agenda, and we'll just turn things over to our Deputy Corporate Officer, Lauren Olenek.
Thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. We do not have any members of the public joining us today, and we can move to the next item.
Thank you.
So looking for a resolution to close the meeting.
Moved by Dr. McConick, second Director Smith. All in favor? Motion's carried.
Okay, just give us a couple of minutes to set up the room.